Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and I'm here today with the revisiting video from Scrapping for Less. Today I'm going to be revisiting the November 2018 Flavor of the Month card kit, and the theme was Sophisticated and Elegant. So I'll get into what was in the kit in a minute, but I wanted to talk about the card that I'm going to make today. The card I'm making includes iris folding. Now, I've been seeing a lot of iris folding lately, and I thought it was super cool, and so I wanted to try it. And I really wanted to try it with this kit, but then when I opened all of these collections up, I don't have a ton of paper. And I really didn't have enough paper from one of the collections to be able to just use one collection. So I pretty much used all of the papers from all of these collections except for the very first one, which had that glittery paper that was black and gray, and that really didn't work with this. But the rest of the papers from all of the other three collections I did end up using to create this card. And iris folding is just basically you're folding a bunch of strips of paper almost in half, a little bit off from half, but almost in half, and then laying them down in a particular pattern. So for this card, I used a star. The star pattern that I found there's tons of them online. This one I found, and it came from circleofcrafters.com. And this one had all of the guidelines, or the key that tells you exactly how many colors you need and where they go. Now you can certainly make your own. You can use as many colors as you want. You can do all of that stuff, but since this was the first time I was doing it, I really wanted to just kind of go off of something that gave me more direction than me just winging it. And that was just one that I kind of made. Now, the things that I learned while I was doing this were, one, in general, depending on what the size is, but you really don't need a ton of paper. I was under the impression when I first started that you needed a lot more paper. And for this, you're going to be cutting the strips as large as you need them. Now, by large as you need them, off of that grid of the star, you kind of see how thick they are and how long they are, and you want to make sure that your pieces are going to cover that. And then, like I said, when you're folding them, you're not going to fold them completely in half. You want to leave one side larger than the other so that you make sure that everything gets covered up. So that's the star I'm using. And for this key, there are 5 different, it's A, B, C, D, E. And on the key, it gives you, they're numbered on the star and lined where it's supposed to line up. And then the key tells you, like, for this color A, it's going to be 1 and 6. And for B, and then so on. And for B, it will be 2 and 7, and continue throughout. And every one of them is like that. So you know exactly which ones that you need to put on that number when you get to it. The other thing I realized is that you want to make sure that your strips aren't too long, because otherwise you're just going to have to cut them all down, because what goes over things. But they need to be long enough to go over the entire cut area, because you don't want to have gaps between what you cut and what you're laying down. Now, I ended up using Scotch tape with this because I watched a plethora of videos on iris folding, and they used every single adhesive that I think is out there. They used double-sided tape. I watched some that used glue sticks. They used liquid glue. I watched some that used tape runners, and then the Scotch tape, and I decided just to use a Scotch tape because I felt like for me that was going to be the easiest one. So you see, I didn't need a ton of paper with each color because there were 5 colors, and the areas weren't really that large. So I just had to make sure that I was covering up the lines and the die cut area. Now, you don't need a die cut. You can certainly cut it out, just trace it and then cut it out like that. But whatever you decide to make, you're going to have to do that. The other thing is you want to use the back, so all of your adhering is going to be on the back of the paper that you decide you want on the front of this creation that you're making. And then you literally just after you cut out all your strips, you fold all your strips, you're just going to keep going around in a circle until you complete it. And like I said, I did it very simply. I just followed the key. It was not hard at all. I will say it was a little time consuming. Now, this was my second time doing it because you saw the first one there. And I think a lot of different things come into play with that, but I'd say this from start to finish, this entire card took me about an hour and 20 minutes, but some of that time was me sitting there looking at my phone or doing other things, so I wasn't completely just working on this the entire time. I would say to make sure that you give yourself a good hour, because I think it would take at least that long. And this is a 5.5-inch card. The star itself is a little less than 5 inches from kind of tip to tip. So it's not really large. So certainly if you make a lot larger one, you're going to need a lot more paper, longer strips, thicker strips probably. But for this one, I didn't. And I loved how this turned out. And then I ended up using paper from the Dapper Man just to create a frame that's going to go around that star, that cutout area. And then once you get done, you're going to have a little gap at the very back or the very end. And I just picked a piece of the pattern paper that I liked that matched it. So that is kind of the iris folding portion of the card. Like I said, it's pretty simple, but it is a little time consuming, but it wasn't terrible. I didn't think, because this one I actually colored the image and cut it out and did a bunch of other stuff with this, and it still only took me, like I said, around an hour to probably complete everything. And I don't think that was really too bad considering, what I made. So I was kind of happy with that. So let me jump into these collections. So for collection 1, you received the Twinkle Glitz paper by DCWV. The stamp was What If I Fly by Scrapping for Less, Black Tie Ephemera by Bo Bunny, Teal Butterflies by Petal, and Sequins by Buttons Galore. Collection 2 was Rustic Elegance paper by Scrapping for Less. That's actually one of my favorite paper pads ever. I loved that paper pad. The stamp was Bloom by Scrapping for Less, and that's what I have right here. Also included in collection 2 was Wooden Doilies, Tags by Prima, and Sequins by Buttons Galore. Collection 3 ingredients included Fashionista paper by Echo Park. The stamp was Sugar and Spice by Santoro, Fashionista Ephemera, Pink Bling Roll. Sequins were by Buttons Galore. And in collection 4 was Dapper Man by Scrapping for Less paper. The stamp was Dapper Man by Scrapping for Less, Metal Arrows by Tim Holtz, Enamel Dots from Echo Park, and Sequins by Buttons Galore. In this kit, you also received 6 sheets of colored cardstock, which were Safety Orange, Spearmint, Black Licorice, Pink Lemonade, Grout Gray, and Steel Blue, and then 2 sheets of Neenah 110 pound smooth white Solar Crest cardstock. And then in the Banana Split level, you received a white pen by Reminisce, package of pearls or rhinestones by Kaisercraft. I received rhinestones, and they were kind of a yellowish color, and that's what I actually ended up using on this card as well. Sparkle Word Die from Sunny Studios, and stamp Puttin On the Spritz by Scrapping for Less. So after when you do this, you're going to have to make sure that you add foam, either fun foam or foam tape to this, because it's pretty thick. Now, this pattern paper is fairly thick, so that certainly made it a little bit thicker, but whatever type of paper you're going to use, because you're layering it over and over, it's going to be, pretty thick. So you're going to have to use something no matter what to raise that up so that it's not lopsided on your card. Like I said, used the foam tape on mine. I colored the image, the Bloom image, with Copic markers, and I kind of went back and forth on where I wanted to put it. I was going to put it on the front, and then I wasn't sure, and I ended up putting it on the inside, along with I stamped the inside of the card. And for the sentiment on the outside of the card, which I would also suggest stamping it before you start putting everything down and putting the foam tape down and all that good stuff, because I didn't, and it came out okay, but I'm just saying it would probably have been a lot easier if I did that. So the sentiment I used was, elegance is when the inside is as beautiful as the outside. And then on the inside, like I said, I put that image of the bloom stamp, and then you are so beautiful was the sentiment from that stamp set, and that's what I put on the inside. And I thought it really all kind of worked well together. And then I just popped it on after I made the card base. Like I said, this is 5.5 inch square, and I just made it out of a 8.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock. I cut down the 8.5 inch side to the 5.5 inches, and then folded the 11.5 inch side, or folded the 11.5 inches to make that 5.5 inch, or the 11 inches. Yeah, I'll split it out. The 11 inches side, and folded it in half to create the card base. And then, like I said, just popped that all on top. I am left-handed, so that is why I have to do a lot of things upside down when I am doing things. For the image, I did use the 110-pound cardstock, and so I just used a black marker to go over the edges because it's a pretty thick piece, and I just think the black finishes it off a little bit and makes it look a little bit better than just leaving it white after you cut it. And then I just pop that in there. And then to completely finish this off, I pop on those rhinestones, just a couple of them on the front of the card. I loved how this card came out, and I'm really glad that I tried this iris folding. And like I said, I got the image from the circleofcrafters.com. So that was where that image came from. But like I said, there was tons of them when I went online and looked at different ones. Some of them you have to pay for, some of them you didn't. It just kind of depended. And that's it. That is my card for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are enjoying the revisiting series. And make sure you hit like and subscribe down below me. And stick around for a couple other videos that you can choose to check out. Thanks, and have a great day.